Hello and welcome to everybody. I hope you're having a good day, a good Monday, and a good start to a busy week to come. Welcome to our second part of the Maronite Chant, questions and answer with Father Yusuf Shtid and Father Ibrahim Kida. Hello, Father.
Hello, good evening.
How are you doing?
Hello, Father Yusuf. Good evening, Father Yusuf.
Hello, Father Ibrahim.
How are you today?
Can you see me?
Yes, we are seeing you well.
Okay, so are you ready for questions and answers? We collected many questions from last live. And we're going to go through them today. And of course, if there are any more questions that come up through this discussion, you can, of course, post them in our comments and sections, both in Facebook Live and YouTube Live, and we'll see them, answering them with Father Yusuf and Father Ibrahim. So, Father Yusuf, our first question from last time was why we don't include more Syrian hymns in our masses.
Okay, so first of all, let me thank you again for hosting me. I think that's a very nice initiative, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about this very important topic. Last time we were more historical, went through the beginning of the Maronite chant, especially the Syriac chants, and we got to know our roots. And it's very important to know our roots in order to know how to go along either in the modern world or what to do next for the future. So if we have, let's begin with the first question that you asked me, and then the youth sent it last time. Why don't we include more Syriac hymns? I think the idea is that we have a kind of specific part in the mass for hymns, which is majorly at the entrance, the hymn after the Hisseye, the prayer of forgiveness, and then we have another hymn for the elevation, and then we have hymns in the communion time, and then at the recession, at the last part of the mass. Usually they were hymn in Syriac, and then after that, when they are translated, they transformed the Syriac hymns into the Arabic hymns. And then if you see, for example, the new version of the Maronite Mass, the version that is done after the renovation of the 1992 and lately 2005, you can see the Syriac hymn in Arabic lyrics at the entrance, at the hymn after the Husoyo, the prayer of forgiveness, and the Mazmuro. These are three Syriac hymns that they have created new Arabic word in translation to it and used into the church. More than that, you cannot do it because actually the Syriac hymns are in themselves used in the what we call the prayers of the hours, which are the prayer of the monk and of the religious, of the priest, of the clergy, that they are supposed to do it many times during the day. And the Syriac hymns are the basis of these prayer. And like you spend half an hour praying different kind of hymns. But when we are in the Mass, we are to follow the liturgy of the Mass, of the liturgy of the Eucharist. You have to insert these hymns related to the subject of the, for example, the Sunday, the second Sunday of Lent is for the leprosy, the leprous man, the man with leprosy. So everything is to be related to this theme. So everything, not only the readings are related to this theme, but also the hymns, the canticles that are to be said.
Okay.
So this is about the hymns in the Mass.
Just a simple question. I know it's might be well, maybe everybody knows it, but some people might not know it. The Arabic and the Syriac are similar in language patterns or different languages?
Well, they are both part of what we call the Semitic languages, which, as we say, for example, um, if I take the Latin, the French, the Italian, the Spanish, those are kind of this. They share the same root. They came from the same original language, which is the Latin. So when somebody speaks French and he meets somebody speaking Italian, even though he don't know Italian, when the Italian one speak, there are so many words that I can understand if I am a French man speaking with the Italian man. And the same thing happens with the Syriac and Arabic, even though I don't understand any Syriac, but when I hear some words, there are some similarities with the Arabic word. And sometimes we have many Syriac words in our Lebanese spoken language that's prove like the vicinity of the Syriac with our Lebanese dialect.
Okay, that makes sense. Great. Okay, let's move on to our next question, which is why the language is not taught. I mean, it talks about the Syrian or Arabic language, I guess. It's not taught to choirs or parishioners, so it won't be lost. So I guess the Syrian language.
The Syriac language, yeah. This is a very difficult thing to do, and I can assure you that we, speaking from my experience, either in Lebanon or in Toronto, because I've been a priest in Toronto, it's a very it's a very difficult thing to get people into church for Sunday Mass. So imagine if you have to bring them back on another day to do another thing very specific. I know that some of the people are interested, and those who are interested, they find their way to learn the ancient language. I would be very pleased if somebody come with a group of people who are interested to learn the language and to sing the original hymn in their original language. But practically and pastorally, if we think about the people nowadays who don't have enough time, who can't afford to have some free 2 hours in the evening, for example, to come to church in order to do Syriac language studies. They have their families, their little babies, and maybe when they are old enough that they are retiree and they have more time, they don't have enough the need for doing it, or the capacity of understanding or to concentrate themselves in order to learn something new. So I think it's a practical issue, practical problem, not an ideological one.
It's also, I think, difficult for the youth to learn the language. It's a very difficult language. So especially the young, would be very difficult to learn.
Well, I don't agree with you, because it's always learning a new language is eye-opening. It's something nice, something new, and people. We used to say the young people are like sponge. Like, well, whatever you give them, they take. They can accept. They can absorb. They can learn. For example, from my experience, for example, in Toronto, I would say, like, I'm speaking about Toronto because I live there, so I speak about something that I did it actually. The young people learn from their parents to speak Arabic, to speak Lebanese, because they speak with them. So whatever you give them, they take. But the problem is that they have their school, they have their activities, they have many things, so they cannot afford to come to church in order to learn another language, which is also for them, it's not very motivated. Like, they are not motivated as the older one who really know the importance of the language and importance to learn a new language. So if we are motivated, we don't have time. If we have time, we are not enough motivated. So it's a vicious circle, unfortunately.
Okay, great. Okay, let's move to the next question of last presentation. The question is, at one point, the Syriac language has been replaced by Arabic languages during masses. At what point? I guess it's a question.
Yeah, this is a very interesting interesting issue for us, and this is something, for example, the Western people cannot understand. I mean by that, the crisis of what the Vatican II have done to the church, which is introducing what they call the vulgar language, which are the language spoken by the people, into the liturgy, was done at the beginning of the last century, which is 1963-65. And this was a big shock for the Western tradition, because until then, everything was in Latin. And either the priests were not supposed to say the Mass in the language that he speaks on a very daily basis. So in the Mass, everything was in Latin. It's kind of separated reality. And then when they came back to the daily life, he speaks the language, the French, the Italian, the Spanish, and everything. In our countries, in our churches, all around the world, I think it's after the 1700 they did the shift from the Syriac to the Arabic. So now, for example, we have many ancient hymns who are kind of not very well done, I would say. They were not a good translation. For example, if we take the Ephraimiyet, and all the old hymns, if you really read it, if you try to analyze the Arabic written in this, you can see that sometimes it's very deep, but sometimes it's kind of forced into the hymn. What I'm trying to say is that the shift from Syriac to English happened around the 1700, where we had also a kind of new renaissance in our church at the time of the Patriarch Sven Dwayhe, Jibril Bluzewe, the creation of the new Maronite orders, when people begin to have like kind of stability at that time, and they don't understand Syriac anymore. That's why they tried to, at the first step, to write the text in Arabic, but in Syriac letters. And this is what we call Karshuni. So the Karshuni, and it's a very common way to say in Arabic. For example, if you speak to me and you don't understand, I would say to you, do I speak Karshuni? It's a very expression that we use. But the word Karshuni means that if I have a text, those who can read Arabic cannot read it, even if it is in Arabic, because it's like modern day when we call the young people would call it Arabizi, which is writing Arabic in the Latin letters. What we write on WhatsApp, when we write on Facebook. So
same Greek.
What do you call it?
We do the same in Greeklish.
Exactly. So, for example, my English friend, if he reads what I'm writing in the Latin letter, he will not understand, because this is not proper English. So this is the Karshuni. And then a further step, let me tell you that when I was in the novitiate, we used to use these books where you have Arabic text with Syriac letters, and it's very difficult to read it because you are not trained to do it. That's another question. So I think our Vatican II, which is when the shift from the Syriac to Arabic, was in the 1700, and from thereafter there were addition, either by translating the Syriac hymn, either by importing melodies from the Western world and put some Arabic language to it, adapting some Western French or Italian melodies, and create, or creating something new, which are the work of Father Bulus al-Ash'ar in the beginning of the 1900, the work of Abuna Albert Sherfin. I'm just citing those that I know from my order, but also we can speak about Yusuf al-Khouri, about Luis al-Hajj, about many other Lebanese either religious or lay people who created new songs in the modern language.
Okay, thank you, Father Yusuf. I have actually two questions for you. The first one, uh, I know very well that you have a very nice idea, nice and important experience actually in Toronto, which is the English Mass. The books of the English Mass, we are using it here even in Cyprus. If you
Yeah.
can tell us a little bit, please, about this, yeah. If you can tell us, please, about this experience and how it born this idea in Toronto and USA, and now we have it here, even in Cyprus. We actually have with the youth every Sunday afternoon. We use those books for our mass.
So these books, let me say something at the beginning, which is the use of the language is something that has to help me live my faith. So whatever language I'm using, it's was supposed to serve the object, which is uh, make me understand the liturgical text, make me understand the prayers, and help me to grow in faith. So if I speak Arabic, I understand the Arabic. I need that this text that I'm reading, either the Bible or the liturgical text, to be in a way that I can understand. That's why our fathers chose to shift to Arabic, because the major part of the people speak Arabic at that time. When the church in the mission or outside the Lebanon is dealing with people who don't understand the Arabic language, they try to come to a solution in order to make them participate, because the participation of the assembly in the church, it's something very essential, and it's not only kind of participating into the show, but it has a very deep theological and liturgical meaning, which is being part of the action that is happening. The mass is not the show of the priest, and the people are the public who are sitting there to enjoy the show and to see a good preach and to hear a good choir performing. It's the reunion of the community in itself. So what we used in Toronto, it was an edition of the prayer book of the Curbono, related to not only the Maronite Bishop of Canada, but also the Maronite Bishop of the English-speaking eparchies of Australia, Canada, and United States. And it was promulgated by the Maronite Patriarch. So all the speaking Maronite throughout the world, the bishop get together and they formed a very professional commission in order to do this translation. And I helped I was part of the Inter-Eparchial Music Commission that helped to create the new Syriac hymn used in the church. So if I can show you, for example, at the beginning, after the prayer of forgiveness, you can find, what is it called? I don't know if I do it this way, you can see it, or it's not very clear.
Yeah, no, come closer to the screen. Yes.
Okay, so you can see here at the time of the prayer, Lahn al-Bakhur, there is the song in Arabic, and what they have done is that to create the same song in English, in a very good English, that the people can understand, and that the people they can sing. And the beauty of this is that you have only to teach them once each hymn, and since they know the music, they can adapt another, for example, at the prayer at the consecration and renewal of the church, which is the first Sunday. If they knew the hymn, let's say Tubaik Ito, they will be able to sing it on different words, on different lyrics the next Sunday, because it's the same music but different words. So the beauty of this book is that they helped us to involve the young people and not teach them Arabic, because it's very difficult to make them sing in Arabic. Also, to change every week the words, because this is a very big problem for somebody learning something new. So it's very educational. You learn the music, you can sing and you can read in your language, your daily language, which is English, the language that you speak with your friend, the language that you go to school to, and you can pray with it. And the beauty of that, my experience, is that sometimes from the translation, I am aware of the deep meaning of the song that I usually sing every day or every year at that time, but I wasn't aware of this. So reading the translation make you aware of the deep meanings that you find in the song you use for church.
Yes, we had this discussion earlier, Father Yusuf, about the translation, that we sing all the Maronite hymns, but not most of us, a lot of us have no idea what they're saying. So having the translation make you actually understand what you're singing for, what you're praying for.
Yeah. There is another thing, if I may add here. It's also the psychological effect, which is you like on Christmas Eve, for example, to sing the songs that you learn when you were little kid, besides the nativity scene and the tree. It not only make you feel good as representing the situation, but it also reminds you of your early memories in your childhood when you used to live these moments. So I can understand people that when they come to Mass and we were singing in English, they ask us to sing in Arabic because they wanted to say Salatuki Ma'ana, because for them, this specific song make them go back to Lebanon, make them live their childhood, make them be aware of their identity. They want to sing Kadishat, for example, because it's kind of identitarian song. So I understand this. I understand that we need to come to respond to these people, but also I need, as a pastor of a church, for example, I have also the obligation of bringing something new for the youth, bringing something new so they can build memories and good memories for them to walk this path of faith. So you have to balance between the older people and the younger people, because also psychologically it's different. The clash of generation, you can find it in every society. So every child is in conflict with his parents, let's say, speaking on the social level, speaking on I don't know, he wants to go out party and their parent, they are very afraid of something happening to him, that's why they ask him to come before midnight. So the clash of generation is also reproduced in the church. Sometimes the youngsters, for example, they don't come to Mass, not because they don't want to come to Mass, but because their parents are there. They wanted to say, I want to be somewhere not my parents are, which is something cool. For example, when their parents don't come to church, they will come, because it's kind of this revolution present in the youth against the older generation, which is kind of repeated in their relationship to the church and to its liturgy and music.
That's a whole other subject we need to cover at some time. The relationship between the youth, the church, and the older generation. So it's a whole new subject that we'll cover together at a later point. Father,
Actually,
do you have another question?
yes, actually, I have the last question concerning the youth of today, and the problem with the parish priest most of the time. One of the most problems is that the youth are far too far from the traditions, and they don't like to sing tradition songs in Syriac or even in Arabic, the hymns, the Maronite hymns, or the tradition hymns, let us say. How we can help them to accept this kind of hymns? How we can find some hymns maybe close to their hearts, close to their way to sing? Uh, this is
Yeah, I totally understand that. And let me put it into the perspective, which is not only liturgical, not only a spiritual thing. It's very psychological. I remember when I was a little, when you are a kid, you like music different than your parents. So one time at evening time, I I asked my mother, who was listening to Kulthum, no, the music of Kulthum. So I told her, "So what do you like about it? It's meaningless. It's very slow." And she said, "You know what? I'm telling you what my father used to tell me when I was a young girl, and hearing him listening to Kulthum, you will understand when you grow up." So uh, it has music, and everything related to life is also dependent on our growth. It also, I don't like now the music that I used to hear when I have 14 years old. And maybe when I'll be 60, I love another kind of music that is more slow, maybe, or less rhythmic, or that has thing related to tradition more than thing that go away from a tradition. The problem of bringing youth to church through music sometimes happens by bringing rock music or jazz music, as we heard last time from the experience of Antilles, which tried to bring the music that the people love into the church and create new music based on that style. It's a very edgy issue, and you have to walk like on a very on a balance between uh, like stopping them or answering and doing exactly what they want, I would say. It's good to make them happy. So maybe there are songs, for example, in Lebanon, with guitars, song that play as Yesua Farahi group, or as the Agape, the kind of songs that use rhythm. They are more lively. They have drums in it. They have derbake. So this will respond more to the the psychology, I would say, to the young people. But themselves, after 10 or 20 years, they would not like these kind of music anymore. That's why, for example, Qadishat is loved by the old one. And if you notice, it's the first song that the people, like the 2 3 years old, learn from church, because it's simple and it's very essential. So I have little kids that the first church song that they learn is going back home singing Kadishat, Aloho, Kadishat. Does it happen to you?
yes, I know it was my daughter actually.
So the importance of tradition, I think you cannot force it into youth. They have to discover it. You have to present the beauty of it so that they can understand it. It's like when you bring young people to a museum and you lament, you complain about the fact they don't understand art. Well, if you don't understand, if you don't teach them, if you don't explain for them what is in this picture, what is in this sculpture, what's the tradition of the artistic line, that why this painting is different from that painting, because it belongs to a different period of artistic formation. you will give them the opportunity to enjoy their times. So I think you have to, as I would say in Arabic, you have to ضرب على الحف ضرب على المسمار, which is you have to put one strike on the nail and the other strike on the edge. Um, it it's rely on the intelligence and on the confidence that the pastor has in order to gain the heart of the people, because sometimes they will do something because they love you, not because they are really convinced. They follow the choir director because they have faith in him, they have confidence. He tried to do something that will they will like. So they, even though they don't understand, they would say, as Peter said to Jesus, I will do it on your word. So hopefully we can get to this dimension of relationship.
Thank you, Father Yusuf.
I will just add something that even though the youth, we say that they don't like the old traditional hymns, I must say from experience that at least some hymns, they do really like them. They ask for them during masses. Not always, it's coming on and off. They will ask for those songs. Let's move to the next question because we already have an hour into the live. Let's go to the here. Okay. The question was: some countries have the need to use languages other than Arabic. What are the parts that can be translated to other languages of the Mass?
Oh, of the Mass. Well, in the Mass, I will always take the experience of the passage from Syriac to Arabic. So, in order to conserve, I would say, the Syriac identity, we are obliged in the Mass to say the Baytuch Aloho Alet in Syriac, to say the Qadishat in Syriac, to say the word of consecration. What else, Abu Ibrahim? I think these three moments, they are obligatory in Syriac. Yeah, the Itlwot and the Baytuch, the word of consecration, and the Kadishat. I think it's the same thing, because in this English book, for example, the one that they use in the English-speaking uppercase.
Great book.
Yeah, let's do it this way. Oh, that way.
Yes.
You have everything in English, and the part requested to be sung in Syriac, they are written in Syriac. So the priest will do it in Syriac, because actually it's a kind of 2-3 lines for the people to answer البيت خالو عليت and إطلوت متحد الله, and the Kadishat, the Etraham Alain and Shihot Kom and Betmite, the people know it because they are familiar with. And then the word of consecration, in order to retain the identity of it. Otherwise, I think, and I have seen, for example, in France, they have the Mass totally in French. Everything, the readings, the text of the liturgy. In Italy, for example, one of our fathers, he worked on a Italian translation of the whole liturgy that I use it now. The Italian parish, the Lebanese parish here, they use the book with participation of Italian, who are, for example, spouses of Lebanese, and they fully participate in the Mass because they understand the language, they have the text. When we go, for example, on in the Latin parishes to celebrate the Mass according to the Maronite Rite, in the week for example, the prayer of unity of Christian, or to present our tradition to the other people, they really appreciate the Mass because they understand it. It's everything is written in Italian, so they can relate it, they can read it and understand it, and they appreciate the structure of the Mass, which is different from the way they used to do in the Latin Mass, and they hear the language, the Syriac language, which is very emotional for them when we told them that this is the nearest language to the one spoken by Jesus.
Okay. I want to let know everybody who is watching, if they have questions for Father Youssef or Father Ibrahim, they can leave them in the comments, and we'll get to them. Let's move, Father Youssef, to another question about the music. How do we learn the original melodies in their proper makam? Is that correct? Instead of major minor keys. So I guess the makam is the Middle Eastern scales.
Yeah.
Which are, I guess, very difficult for our ears, since we are not, well, not Cypriot ears, but the more European.
Yes, yeah. Well, actually, there is a lot of editions about the Syriac music written in with the indication of the distance between the degrees, which, for instance, tells you what kind of scale you are into it. You can find it in different libraries, and of course, I'm speaking about Lebanon. I'm speaking about the books edited and published in Lebanon. For instance, also my PhD that I did on the Syriac hymn contains the transcription into a different scale, when there is a Hijaz, when there is a Zalzalian scale, and where is the diatonic scale. Of course, that what you can find on the website that I showed you last time, maronitemusic.org, is a rendition of the music for the Western speakers, like for English speakers and people who are not familiar, even though they are of a Lebanese root or Maronite root, they are not aware of the Arabic songs and Arabic scales, and they are unable to sing it because either they didn't learn, or there is nobody who teach them or play an instrument, an Oriental instrument with them in order to learn it. They are kind of reduced to the diatonic scale, which is like the scale you can use on the piano or on an organ or on a synthesizer that we usually use in the church. But the original one, you need some
Oriental instruments.
This is the problem with what we call the oral tradition, because usually it's transmitted from one teacher to his disciple. We don't have what is very common in the Western world, which are the manuscripts. We don't have any manuscripts depicting the hymns or a musical notation or any musical study about the scale or the type of music in our Maronite heritage. And this is something that Father Luis Haj is saying, that I'm not saying something out of nothing. He did he spent his full life studying the Maronite heritage, and he actually confirmed that there is no older manuscript that speaks about the music in itself. That's why we always are based on the oral transmission from teacher to his disciple, which at his turn he will become a teacher for other disciples. So when this relationship is cracked, we find ourselves in a very difficult situation. We find ourselves that we need to write this music, and if the people don't have what we call the hermeneutical keys to interpret this music, they will do it in another way, or they can't learn it in the proper way. So I think if you have really some professional musician that they can really play this music, there are good publications about the musical hymns in their original maqam, and they can play it and they can learn from that.
You do need an instrument that will play those kind of scales, right? Because I guess a piano, a normal piano, won't play those scales.
No, you have to have either an Oriental instrument, which, for instance, a qanun or the oud or a ney, or you have to have a keyboard synthesizer keyboard that you have to put the Oriental scale in it, like you have to put the E half bemol, which is like the siga. That's why you can reproduce this scale on the keyboard.
Okay, great. Good. Okay, very, very good information today. And I think we are coming to our last question, Father. And the question is, I want to play Maronite songs and I guess traditional hymns with my choir, but I don't read Arabic and I don't understand anything in the Arabic language. Where do I find scores in English or Arabic songs in Latin characters, and how do I teach them?
Yes, this is something that is done by many musicians that kind of write their music on the Western style. They usually, if you can find a score for them, they usually do this, which is keep the staff going from left to right, as it is in the Western music, and they transcribe under that the Arabic word in it. So, for instance, if I may show you this one, let me share my screen. Okay, you can see now. Is it clear, Joseph?
Yes, Father, we can see it.
Okay, so this Salatu Kimana, for instance, which is the song, the traditional song for Mary in Arabic. Here we have it in a rendition, in a arrangement by Father Wackett for four voices: soprani, contralti, tenori, and bassi, with the accompaniment with the organ. So here you can find a transcription of the Arabic in the Latin characters. Salatuki ma'ana ya athar al-ibad, and then we go forward. Kuni ma'ana, kuni aunana hasab al-mu'tad. So here you can find something useful for you and for your choir in order to read the Arabic text done in the transcription with the Latin characters. These scores, who are based on the Western tradition of music, they are all done like this. Some other scores in Arabic, they shift the staff from right to left, and they write under the music with the Arabic letters the text of the hymn. But I think, in responding to this question about if somebody who cannot read Arabic, he will find something like that, which is the transcription of the hymn in the Latin letters. But also he needs somebody to make it. Yeah, he has to seek help, for example, either for the meaning or what to choose, what is the song who is related to the liturgical season that we are dealing with, and how to do it, and he has to learn it himself before teach it to others. So it's a good path to do it. You can do it once, and then when you learn it, you can repeat it many times during the liturgical year. But it's a good exercise. And
I was the
I may
host.
say that sometimes people would like to sing in the language they don't know. I take, for example, when we as youngsters, we would like to sing song in English, even though we didn't really understand all the words. We love to sing something in Latin, like all the polyphonic pieces who are written in Latin. Sometimes, even though we don't understand it, you feel kind of surrounded by the mystery of the language more than the mystery of the music and the harmony in it. But also people use it kind of, I don't want to say magical words that would say that their prayer will be understood by God because it's in Syriac, but it's a kind of good speaking the older language, either the Syriac or the Arabic, for you guys who are not don't have Arabic as a first language. It's very nice because we feel connected to our history. We feel connected to our forefathers who spoke these languages and they prayed with these languages, and I would say they got sanctified in these languages. So I put it in this way.
Great. Well, we thought that today would be a shorter presentation. we are we are running to again almost 1 hour, so I will cut us short. Although we answered all the questions, I have some more, but we go. Let's see. Okay. We'll go and answer them, I guess, in or another one.
If you give me the time at the end of this session today to make the final conclusion of the
Go ahead, Father.
of
Go ahead.
at the end, when you get done, when you finish your question.
The questions are done for now, so you can give us a conclusion.
Okay. So before doing the proper conclusion for the sorry, I have to open my PowerPoint in order to present to you what I prepared for you. Um, um, if you remember, I tried to make this discussion, this discussion about the chained hymn in memory of Father Jean Sader, and I did it on purpose, especially for his work. That is really respond to what are the reality of the church in Cyprus. If we take his works either in music or in the art of painting, we can see the connection between the tradition and the modernity. We can see that he is a kind of the poet who has written new words, new lyrics for songs, but those lyrics are related to the Bible, are related to the Syriac spirituality. They are rooted in the liturgical text, and when somebody is like that, his new creation. They don't come out of nothing, but they come out of his love for the Syriac hymns and the new the modern people, the modern music, the modern way of intending the anthropology and the new philosophy dealing with the problems of the modern man. I remember, and this is something very, very related to you guys in Cyprus, that when he brought the new creation of Father Waked in Arabic, based on the Syriac, inspired by the Syriac song, but they are new creations. They tried with people who have a good poetical Greek language. They tried to put Greek word on the new Arabic hymns. For instance, I really remember and he said that they were prettier in Greek, because the song that goes like "Binurika nu'ayinu nura," which means by your light, O Christ, we gain light. He said in Greek it's better because it begins with Christe, and then he goes along, which is they put first the name of Christ at the beginning of the hymn, and for him it was better in Greek more than in the original Arabic. So I just wanted to give you an example of, if we really find people who are really gifted, we can create something new. Either I would say that it's an insult for the Holy Spirit if we don't create something new based on our old tradition. So saying that, I will go to my conclusion, which is the conclusion of. Let me share the screen. Now I'm very comfortable with this. And so my conclusion of this beautiful moment that we spent together is based on a citation, a quote from Nicholas Losky, who is an Orthodox theologian, and in his book, which is it's in French, essay on théologie de la musique liturgique, an essay on the theological musical. An essay on the theology of music. He speaks of many challenges of the music. For instance, the challenge between the monody and the polyphony into the church. Is the monodic chant more liturgical than the polyphonic? He would say we have to follow the model of the three young men in the furnace. You remember the passage from the book of Daniel, and he said they sung in one voice. But one voice does not mean monody only. One voice also can understand that the people singing different voices, they are united in one, which is a one voice. So for him also, in the Byzantine liturgy, but also we can expand it to the Syriac liturgy, singing on one voice, like in a monody, and singing in polyphony are not against the liturgical tradition. But if I have to sing in a polyphony, I have to have a good choir, a good prepared choir, in order to help the people pray and make the song more beautiful than having a polyphony with a bad choir that make you want to go out of the church. So this is one of the challenges. The other challenges that we have dealt also today is the problem of the language. A good translation transmits the beauty of the theology, not sophisticated grammatical forms. And this is actually what we are facing. Sometimes you have the older translation that are not working because they are done with people that don't speak properly and they don't possess the mysteries of the language that they are translating into. And that's why we need to have good professional people to do it in order to have good, beautiful hymns. He said also, la musique, c'est la lumière de la parole. The music is the light of the word, as the light illuminate the beauty of the colors of the icon. This is very beautiful, to consider the music as putting in a beautiful light the word, because the word in itself, it is read. If it is read, it's something that we can understand, but when it is sung, it will glow better and more beautiful when it is connected with the music. At the end, I would like to finish with this one. The word, the small word, like our words, should vanish and become transparent to the word with the capital W, the Logos, and to the communion of the faithful with Him. That's where we can talk about the silence of the liturgical words. So maybe I can finish with the silence. I can finish this discussion in two parts, speaking about the music and the liturgy and the liturgical text, to arrive to a fully silent liturgy, which is the liturgy of the heart, when really you go deep inside your heart and you meet God. The liturgy is a reflection, as our author, spiritual author, would say. It's a reflection of what is done on the higher level, in the higher in the sky, in the kingdom of God. The liturgy here is a mirror of the liturgy happened within the throne of God and with the Lamb who is sacrificed. So in this, let us not forget that everything done in the liturgy, including the music and the good words that we are creating, it has to help us pray more. It has to help us go inside ourselves and do a space for this silence, for this silent moment where we can encounter God in our life. And this is the end. And thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Father.
Father Yusuf. Thank you very much for your information and for this lovely hour with our hymns and our Maronite chant. Thank you really very much for those 2 weeks in Fila. God bless you, and see you in other discussions and other, even parish on live, or you will be live with us in the parish.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I hope this discussion helps you to reflect more on the reality of your church, in order to create something new, in order to create something that respond to the challenges in your context, which is unique. You cannot take anything done elsewhere and apply it blindly there, because the inculturation, it's something that should be done in a very wise way. Thank you to Father Ibrahim and Joseph for your work. I know that it's not easy to do it, but I really appreciate your trying to connect people and to present these themes to a major number of people. And I hope your work continue and flourish and have good fruits.
Thank you,
Uh,
Father.
Again, from my part, thank you, Father Yusuf, and thank you, Father Ibrahim. And the talk today was amazing. It was very good, and we have new subjects that we touched on that will have to have another session to cover them. So stay tuned for a new life with both of you. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you, Joseph. Good night.